this is going to be my last video on the Charlie Kirk situation. In all honesty, it's not really specific to him, but it does raise issues. So, like for instance, what I do where I talk on camera, I'm very opinionated. I share my views on life in general, and even go deep into spirituality. And so things cross paths, and it's just outlook on life in general, like our conception, our purpose, personal growth. There's so much I cover, and like anything, it can be quite divisive with people. But the reality is, there's always extremists on either side, and that's just what it is. It's like I just talk from experience to try to open people's eyes to exploring their existence, really, but not in some sort of nefarious, hard-lined way. It's literally just open people's eyes to explore their own life. Some people won't like that. They don't like that liberal nature where people can just literally be free. So other people want to exploit people. They want to force them down a specific path to fulfill an agenda and usually line their own pockets. I don't follow that path at all. I'm far more liberated and free within my life. And like I say, I share that. And there'll be people who take exception. You only have to go. You can go back through history. Even Jesus was persecuted for being pure. It's like it happens, doesn't it? And I think that's the biggest example. But now we're seeing it on the other side here with I can't remember his name. I don't want to be. I don't say it. I don't do it to be rude. It's just not on my radar. But anyway, the recent incident there where he had lost his life, and it's just it's really, really sad. Like in that sense, in terms of the sense that it's just a tragic loss of life, because redemption stories exist. People are cutting people's lives short before they've had that full experience. Everybody goes through chapters in life. You go through. You can't. No one's perfect. You can't say he's perfect your entire life. So just because someone at a certain period of their life has a certain narrative or sort of viewpoint, and I just don't understand how someone can judge them so strongly to decide to execute them when literally they have every right to see their life through. And they may have changed their mindset. Their ideals could have evolved later. Now, I'm not saying it would have done, but that's up to them to explore. And I've already touched on the fact that people should be more emotionally balanced to the point where they don't get reactive. Violence is never the answer to anything. It's unnecessary. You can share your views in the same way someone else can share their views. And just because maybe they talk louder, you can either match it or talk softly. Deliver your message how you want. But it shouldn't be so threatening that someone else is able to deliver a message, and because you maybe can't match that energy, or you're not intelligent enough, or you can't articulate, so your communication skills aren't on point. So maybe you're limited in the way you want to express yourself. It doesn't mean you resort to violence to try to silence someone else just because you don't agree with a narrative. It's just that's just deranged. So, like I say, I've always been aware. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a naive person. I've always been aware that the more I speak on topics, and the more I'm potentially in the public eye. Even before this situation, there's always a threat to your life. There's always going to be a threat from somewhere, but it's not something I care about. Because when I say some people, I mean me specifically. I follow purpose. Like whatever I feel called to do, I'm going to do in this lifetime. And if it ruffles some feathers, it ruffles some feathers. I follow what I consider a very divinely guided path. And there's nothing on this planet, in human form or any other, that's going to derail me from what my purpose is in this life. So I don't walk this or go through this experience worrying about repercussions. Because effectively, like if we're going to talk on a spiritual level here, because this is the difference, the other person was very much political and had views on society, and they literally judge people without knowing the deeper meanings of really why we're here. We're all here to evolve on some level. Some are here for a higher purpose. Some are just here to it's an early existence in their soul journey. There's all those things, and once you can understand that, you're a bit more tolerant of people. I can't remember where I was going to go with that, but overall, we've all got soul contracts. We've all got things to achieve in this lifetime. So some people, especially those who are susceptible or low vibrational, may have negative entities attached to them. They're literally mimicking them, mocking them. People don't even realize they have that, and they could just be just a bit nefarious, mischievous, malevolent. But things can get more and more sinister and dark, where, especially these world leaders who are mentally corrupt, they can have demonic forces literally within their aura and energy, and it's like they could literally be pulling the strings, and the person either knows about it or they don't. because some of them probably do rituals and shit, you know? So some will be aware and some are unconsciously, they don't know. And that could be influencers, it could be anyone. And I'm aware of all these things, you know? I'm not a naive person. So if I talk about something and it deeply triggers someone on a soul level, that it really bothers them and sears into them, there's a good chance it's not really them, because a human, like on a human level, you should be able to balance your emotions. Everybody should have the potential to do that. But if you've got negative entities, especially demonic entities, that's gonna react like crazy. And you see it. I see it. I see footage where people are doing like sermons on the street. You know, maybe they're talking about God, and it shouldn't be that triggering. If you don't like something, turn away, walk away. But some people get right in the face of the person speaking, and I can't help but think I wouldn't be surprised if they've got a negative attachment to them. On what level, who knows? But it could literally be something seriously is attached to that person, and it's making them react with outrage. And again, it's like your vibration is going to be what attracts those things. And I've discussed it in my book anyway, my spiritual book, Losing Mind to Find Your Soul. We should all be protecting ourselves. Because again, there's a naivety in this lifetime where some people, they don't believe something and they just go, oh, it doesn't exist, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you think what you want, but you'll always be proven like wrong in that aspect once your life comes to an end. You will see a light. You will go towards it. You will be greeted by like guardian angels and, you know, a family member who's passed on to bring you comfort. And then you will go through like a cleansing, a decentralizing of the human experience to get back into spirit and source. And then you will experience your end of life review. So you will feel all the good you did, and you'll actually feel it through your spirit. And you'll also feel all the pain and suffering you caused other people. Now, whether people want to believe that, it's up to them. It doesn't change the fact that that's what exists. Now, I have experiences of my own that I don't have to validate to anyone. I'm just fully aware of the process and our reason for being here. So my path, I have utmost confidence, is guided and divinely orchestrated. So I've experienced certain things that would be considered incredibly unfair. And it's like, I get fed up just like the average person. But I understand it's it's like an origin story. It's a part of a way to humble me, but also give me experience that gives me the tools to progress on to the next phase. There's a reason for everything. So when we take deep exception to someone else's viewpoints, and maybe some people are extreme, in some ways it exists for a reason. You know, whether it's to be polarizing to someone else's narrative, which then can draw attention to maybe the positive rather than the negatives, because sometimes you need both. You know, you can't see the light on a grand scale unless you have an immense amount of darkness around it, because then you can illuminate through it. Otherwise, people just don't notice, you know? So there's always a reason for things. So it could be for a positive benefit or a nefarious negative one. But again, let's go on. If we start blending deeper spiritual meanings to things, and the fact that there are spirits and there are angels protecting us, and there's an entire echelon within that. You know, that means there's also an echelon on the other side, the negative entities, you know? And people don't want to hear that story. They don't want to be on that. So they get so caught up in this human 3D experience, forgoing everything else that happens on the periphery of that. So if they're short-sighted and naive, not realizing that we're all going through things because we're supposed to be going through things, but it's up to you to see beyond the illusions, you know? And literally focus on your own path. But like I say, I've always had an awareness that, you know, when you speak on topics, you can be at risk. But I'm always of the mindset, whatever spirit needs to do with me in this lifetime, do with me as you will. You know, that's literally how I live. So if I don't get to end life naturally, which would be a nice way to go, wouldn't it? It would be nice if we do all end up naturally. But the reality is, and this is how I think, does it really matter if you get to 80 years old or you just get another year? It's like, either way, your time will be up at some point. So what do you want to do with your life? Personally, like I'd say, make it matter, but in a positive way. Dig deep in yourself and figure out, like, maybe what your path is. It's like literally figure it out, because you can figure it out. It's not hard when you go deep enough within yourself and you actually take time to yourself to isolate, to actually decompress from all the experiences you've had and the ideologies that maybe if people have tried to ingrain on you, and the pressures people put. And then you start to figure out, like, maybe more about yourself, maybe your skills, your talents, what you've been experiencing, how you're going to evolve beyond that. Then you start to really figure out what your potential soul contracts are. And that's really what you need to be ticking off, because there's no point getting to your end of life review on the other side, and you came here for a purpose, and you completely got sideswiped because you literally lost sight of the actual purpose. But guess what? You have to come back and do it all over again. And who knows what state of society it'll be like then. So make this lifetime count. So literally, that's how I live my life. I live my life based on the fact that I intend to fulfill all of my soul contracts in this lifetime with the time I have. And the way I see it is, like I said at the beginning, there's an evolution of our soul. I expect, and I think it's near impossible, because I do my own tarot cards and things like that. I embrace my gifts. I embrace my connection to spirit and source, and encourage other people to seek it for themselves too. But like I say, everybody's journey is their own. I'm not here to fulfill someone else's destiny. I'm here to do my own journey. And if it means guide people at certain points or raise awareness of something or just shine a light here, then I'll do that. But overall, my purpose is mine. And so I really am no interest in deeply convincing anyone of anything. Like I've said in another video, it's not cold. I'm here to just fulfill my purpose. And like all of us, our time will come to an end. So like I say there, it would be near impossible, and I think very few manage to do it. It would be nice to go from the conception here on Earth, where we're maybe devoid of a lot of our gifts, of our understanding, of our ranking on the other side. So all the different vibrations on the other side, which is why some people are perhaps more intelligent in this lifetime, connected to spirit, source, all those things. It really depends on where your soul is at on its journey. So we'll come here for a purpose, and it's very crazy here. It's not the best of environments. In fact, it's one of the densest, from my understanding, in any system, and that's why we come here, because it's the harshest place, which means you're going to rapidly evolve, for good or bad. It's really a test, isn't it, in some ways? But I think going from that lowest state we could potentially be at to evolve to become connected to our higher self. So we become our absolute embody. So this is my interpretation or my understanding of, is that our soul is sort of split. Like half of it is still stuck in spirit, in the astral, which is why you can have like psychic abilities, you can have connections to source, you have your intuition, all those things. And people that are along this path will understand those things. The other part is literally on this existence. So if you can switch your mind off to a point and allow that connection to come through, you're at your purest self. Your mind and you can get in the way. You can literally convince yourself of something and then block yourself off and be quite closed-minded and all those things. But that's really your human brain is just getting in the way because it's ego. Ego's running rampant. So you've got that. So my point of view there is it'd be really good if at some point in this life cycle, which would be pretty amazing, is if my soul is that high vibrational that it literally matches the frequency of the soul on the other side to all-encompassing. So whoever wise or intelligent or higher vibration is on that side, I am that side here. And I'm shedding the layers and evolving all the time. So that requires humility. It requires us to be humble with ourselves in our journey. And literally just focus on fulfilling whatever it is that each of us are here for. Because people get caught up too much, in substances, in the material world. So it just becomes distractions. There's no harm in having certain things, but you should never lose sight of actually your goal in life. And that's why some people just go wayward and they just get mental health problems and they get depressed and all these things, because literally they've so detached from who they are at their core that they've got lost to this world. And that's why some people just can't take it anymore, because literally they just got lost completely. And yet the potential was there from the beginning if you just maybe done things slightly different, had a bit more tolerance of things, a bit more of an open mind. Again, I'm not here to just tell everything. This is people are going to have to explore things for themselves in their own experiences, But like I say, I see way beyond the superficial and the surface level stuff that the average person sort of sticks with. And like I say, I just think I know how intolerant people can be, how extreme people can be. And how impulsive they can be. Some people they've got no mental capacity, no emotional intelligence, so they can't distinguish really between what is reasonable reaction and the path they choose to take, which is incredibly violent and irreversible. But reality is, if you listen to your intuition enough, it will save you from a lot of situations. So, for instance, you might be walking down the street and you have a real urge not to go down one road, or you feel an urge to turn around, but it doesn't it doesn't matter how much that makes you look. Even if people think that makes you look weak or you look like, you're scared. It's no. I'm following my intuition. If I'm being guided this way, I'm going this way. I don't care if you think, are you too scared to go down there? No, I just know not to go down there. So I think if you're in touch with your guides, the angelic realm, they will help guide where they need to put you. Um, and if, like I say, if time comes to an end, then it's not necessarily that was the plan, but they allowed it. And if they allow it, then it's meant to be some way, isn't it? Otherwise, they can intervene because, again, if you go on the echelon on the other side, we've got spirit guides who literally guide us, which can be previous ancestors, but it's not always. I think that's the misconception. It could be a guide that's on a similar path, so they can transition in and out. So, like for instance, you could be on your origin side of your story where it's really, really hard, it's extreme, and maybe you need strong, resourceful guides to help through that. So then that's the guides that'll be with you through that part of your journey. Then there might be a transitional side of your journey. Maybe there's romance, there's love, and there's like an uplifting side. Maybe new guides will come in to help you with that situation. Maybe then you're on a different side of life where maybe you're successful, potentially even wealthy. There might be a new set of guides that need to help with that. So you're not always with your own guides all the time. It's the ones that you need for that period, and some people have more than others. It really depends on you. Depends on your path in life. It's not a competition. I think that's the part people get lost in as well. Someone hears someone else might have a really big sort of life path, and they get jealous of it. But it's like you don't understand what the path is. Effectively, if you think of it this way, see, I'm aware that there's certain echelons on the other side, and I think people say God, but what is God? And I've said that in my book. I'm not going to sit and quantify what God is because it's going to be different to each person. But I am aware there is a council of light, and they're the ones that govern and decide ultimately what we're allowed to do. Like, so what opportunities we'll have in this life, what they'll release us to do. If they hold it, like for instance, I've been in quite a holding pattern for a while, frustrated, like crazy that I can't get any traction. But that's because they don't want me at the front yet. But once they do, they'll release me. I'm trying to think where I was going with that. But yeah, anyway. So I'm aware of the echelons on the other side. And we answer to them. So what they need of me, I will always do. And that's literally my path in life. So whether people take exception, I don't care. Doesn't mean all my views are perfect because we're still having a human experience here. So there'll be times when maybe I make a mistake. And I'm sure that they will pull me up on it and make me learn that lesson fast. But yeah, it depends on your path, how much intervention there is and how much opportunity comes and things like that, But really, it's about ticking off your soul contract boxes. Now, I know we've gone completely off track with the conversation here, but for me, it's all in one. It's how I live my life. So, like I know, like I said, some people are just very much, this is existence, this is the life. And they'll say, that's all fake. That's because they've got no comprehension of it. It's not for me to convince someone who's shut their mind off to say that, convince them otherwise and explain it and prove this. I don't need to prove my experiences. If you really care that deeply and you genuinely want to know, you just follow my books. I've shared the journey as and when things have happened. In literally each book is a year. So 2019 was A Father's Daughter. 2020 was Heartbroken Daughter. 2021, Lose Your Mind and Find Your Soul. 2022 was Heal Your Mind, Free Your Soul. 2023 was Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul. 2024 was Find Your Peace to Save Your Soul. Now in 2025, I've got 3 manuscripts, one spiritual, one society politics, and the other one's personal growth, transformation. And I've been saying it all year, I just can't be bothered to release them at the minute. I can't even bother to work on them. I've worked my ass off for too long with no results in terms of like recognition, my finances. I do so much with very little reward. And I've reached a point where I don't want to keep sacrificing my time. They will come out when I want to come, when I want them to come out. It may be the first year where there's a gap, and it didn't really need a gap, but I've decided my time is precious. Now, it could still come out by the end of the year, one of them. But I pick which one comes out. I enjoy writing the political one, the society one. I enjoy certain chapters of doing the personal growth. And I enjoy some of the chapters already that I've been editing for Losing Mind and Find Your Soul sequel. So the spiritual sequel, but realistically, I don't know. It'll probably be the spiritual one that comes next, but even then, I can't say 100%. But that's I've demonstrated through my own journey. I'm not going to sit here or with someone else and try to freaking validate to them their existence. So believe what you want, however helps you sleep at night, because you know innately whether you're just tricking yourself and convincing yourself just to make yourself feel comfortable. Because some people are not comfortable with things they don't know. They don't feel like to feel in at ease. They don't want to, they don't like to feel inferior. So it's easy to block someone else off and say, "Oh, that's nonsense." It's like, well, you'll see at the end of your life cycle, won't you? Because all those who sort of like are against anti the spirituality and faith and all those things and think that this is just it, they'll be surprised on the other side when they're greeted and they realize that if you lived your life anti something like to that core, you're going to feel rather like waste of life that you went against it so much when it's in your face as soon as you pass over. So when you cross over, you realize you've spent your whole life doing the complete wrong things. What a waste! And how tragic is that? But again, it's like you don't have to believe things. It's like I say all the time, you don't have to believe in any of that. You just need to live your life to your highest good and fulfill your potential. If you're doing things for the right reasons and you're investing in yourself all the time, then whether anything else exists or not is irrelevant, isn't it? Because you're investing in yourself, you're not doing anything to the detriment of someone else. Everything's for your positive evolution. It's like you're doing enough then, aren't you? But anyway, I'm not going to go too deviating here. I just thought I'd talk about that. The fact that extremists will exist in every walk of life. But you can either hide in the shadows, scared to speak up, or you speak up and make sure that the next generations, for instance, can be positively influenced. Most people will be forgotten, and it's just the reality. It's like we all think we have significance, and it's very rare that someone does. If you go through history, there's only very few select that actually are, immortalized in some way. So, I mean, like, I'm now remembering his name, Charlie Kirk. He will have people who follow his ideologies and the way he thinks, and it might be for the next 5 years he's still part of that. And I think nowadays we have social media and there's YouTube and all those. So people that follow his ideologies, they may follow for many years to come, or in a few years' time, 5 years or so, his name may be forgotten and his image gone, and new voices surface, because that's just that's how we evolve. That's just evolution. People are significant while they're here, and then when they're not, they soon get forgotten. And like I said, it's very, very, very few that get remembered, and that's just that you have to accept that. So most of our lives are, if you're going to talk about like being significant, it's only significant to us, really, for the most part. So there's no point like focusing so heavily on trying to influence other people. It's like you can speak your truth. But it's like, don't worry so much about how people react to things, though, because you're literally here to follow your own path and make sure you fulfill as many of your soul contracts as possible. You'll know if realistically, you'll know if you're on a soul contract anyway, because your life will keep repeating. You'll go through lessons in life. Like, for instance, you might go through something and it's like, it feels like this is similar. Like, for instance, you might always go through similar relationships or similar job cycles. It never works out, but it's always the same thing. It always feels familiar. It may be a different scenario, but it's familiar because you're not learning the lesson in it. Maybe the jobs have exploited you, or maybe that's not the job you're supposed to be doing. Maybe you've been taking the easy path, and it's like now you need to test yourself and push yourself to really fulfill something that you've got a real talent at, and then a new door will open. Maybe not immediately, because again, if things take time to process, it's like the cog and the mechanism. We get fed up waiting, and we think things are not fair, and then maybe you regress, part of the challenge. But things have to be orchestrated. An opportunity has to be built, and then that cog, that thing needs to move in place. Let's say, for instance, you're destined to have this opportunity, whatever it is, and either that position doesn't exist right now or someone's already in it. Well, and then let's say you're ready. It might take a while for the spirit source to move the pieces around for you to then have your opportunity. But it's like whether you believe in yourself enough to keep pushing forward, even if that hasn't manifested yet, or you could be in a relationship and it's, and one after another. It's just this, like, it's always disrespect. It's always toxic. It's arguing. It's the same thing though. Every time you meet someone, they're always similar. You haven't valued yourself. You haven't set new standards. You haven't took time to yourself to really find who you are and then elevate beyond those circumstances. So everything's tests. So once you keep recycling through something, it's usually that's your soul contract, and you're going to have to figure a way to finish that. Otherwise, it's going to happen for the rest of your life. Like I said, it's like people will take exception because they won't, like for instance, me talking on that, people with views that are completely polar opposite, or people with authority who don't want people to know about those things. They want to suppress the population, people like that, that's a threat. So what do? Do you stay hidden and don't tell anyone? Or do you just speak up anyway and just say, this is my life path. I'm here to create change. I'm here to wake people up, and I'm just going to do it. So I'll keep doing what I do, and the body of work will be there. So even when I'm not here anymore, the work will speak for itself, and I take that quite serious. And like I said, what difference does it make? Like, some people are terrified of their own shadow, and for me, it's like, I fulfilled enough in this lifetime. I'm proud, and I think that's a great place to go, isn't it? Because you're peaceful. You're peaceful in that sense. Yeah, I want other experiences, but fundamentally, I'm quite proud of what I've done. I've done 6 books. Nearly, I think YouTube like 600 nearly at this point. Always growing. Other platforms, a lot more content. So it hasn't been a waste of life. There's been a lot of evolution, and I've shared the journey, and I've got no doubt the right eyes, the right ears will learn a lot, and it will help uplift them and give them a new outlook on life, and it might be inspiring as well. Um, yeah, and I think that counters the negativity and the extremism in the world at the moment. So we stay in the shadows, and no positive change occurs, or we have the confidence just to speak our truth. But understand that when we do so, it does come with consequences and potential risks. But such is life. Literally, if that's your soul contract, though, like for instance with me, it's my soul contract. So what choice do I really have? Otherwise, I'm just gonna be frustrated my whole life. So yeah, I like when my I'm not scared of the end. I think that's the one thing. Like, I understand. I understand source. I understand spirit. I understand like where we come from, the astral. Um, I understand this is just a blip, a moment in our soul's journey. It's literally an experience that was ordained and happened at this time period in history, like just like every other generation. And this is a period where each of us exist. And when time comes to an end, it'll be back to our natural state, won't it? So what's scary about that? So anyway, yeah. I just wanted to make that clear, really, that inherently there are risks in society, and it's like understanding those and then still moving forward, but even with the knowledge of those potential consequences. Because personally, I just think sometimes some things are just bigger than us. That's what it comes down to. So me personally, I can't be manipulated from my path. I can't be bribed. I can't be bought. All those things. It's just, it doesn't, because my purpose is bigger than human influence. So if I feel righteous in something and justified, then I will talk on it, or I will share this, and I'll work on diligently if it's a book or whatever I'm doing, because I feel called to. So, for instance, if someone said, "Oh, here's £1 million to remove your books," or something, well, even bigger money, billions. No, because they were supposed to happen and they happened. Money can't replace that. Money's only tangible for the duration of time that I'm here. If I was supposed to do this, then it was supposed to be there for even when I'm gone. So I'm leaving parts of me for future generations. And like I said, no one knows if they're going to be remembered. I think it's naive to think you will. You only have to look at family members and past and celebrities. There's usually a huge euphoric, like a moment of, focus on them when they pass. And it's only weeks later, people go back to normal because life moves forward. And it doesn't matter how big your status is, life moves forward for everyone. Very, very, very few, like very few, are revered. And most of those who are revered are really, really in ancient history, like Jesus, Yeshua. Really, people like that. It's very rare for someone of modern times to be revered and remembered. Maybe their name is known slightly, but not really on people's minds too much. So the idea that the average person thinks they're going to be remembered is just really, really naive. So like I said, to really our opinions on things and this and that, it can help evolve society for sure. So there's nothing wrong, or there's no harm in, I think, trying to do the right thing. But it's really, really important that you do focus on your own growth too, because otherwise you might lose sight of actually your soul's journey. Unless, of course, your soul's journey is to actually do those things, of course. Anyway, I just really wanted to show the disparity between just the human existence and the spiritual overtones, really. And I understand there's a bigger purpose, and some of us live by that. So it goes beyond the corruption of this world. Anyway, There you go. I thought I'd do that. I wasn't intending to do another video, to be totally honest. It's just I really felt that maybe I should just address that just briefly.